The void of space was silent. Stars shimmered far away, cold and distant, but the wreck of a broken ship floated in the darkness. Among the twisted metal, a single escape pod drifted slowly. Its lights flickered, as if the machine itself was gasping for breath. Inside, a lone human lay unconscious. His breathing was shallow, his uniform scorched from fire, his helmet cracked. To any other traveler, he looked like a dying fragment of a forgotten war, but fate had other plans. A patrol ship belonging to a peaceful alien race. The Lemurians picked up the weak signal. Their commander, a tall being with silver skin and glowing eyes, frowned at the strange readings. "Life form detected," one of the crew whispered. "Human," the commander said, his voice heavy. "A survivor from their war." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Humans were spoken of in whispers across the galaxy. They were fragile compared to many alien species, yet their stubbornness and courage were legendary. Some called them reckless, some called them dangerous. And yet, here was one broken, barely alive, floating alone. The commander hesitated only a moment before giving the order. "Bring him aboard." The escape pod was pulled in. Medical machines hissed, scanning the wounded man. His chest rose and fell unevenly. His body was covered in scars old and new. The alien studied him with curiosity and concern. Hours later, the human stirred. His eyes opened, unfocused at first, then sharp with sudden awareness. He tried to sit up, but pain forced him back. "You are safe," the alien medic said gently. "Do not move. You were found drifting. You are among friends." The human coughed, his voice raw. "Friends." His gaze darted around the chamber, confused but determined. Then, with surprising strength, he grabbed the medic's wrist. "Where are the others?" he asked. "There were no others," the commander replied quietly. "Only you." The human closed his eyes for a moment. His lips trembled, but when he spoke, his voice was steady. "No, not possible. We never abandon our own." The words hung heavy in the air. The alien crew looked at each other, puzzled. The commander tilted his head. "Why would your people return? One life, alone in the dark." "It is not logical." The human's eyes burned with quiet fire. "Because we are human. 1 or 1,000, it makes no difference. We come back, always." The crew whispered among themselves, confused by such certainty. The galaxy was built on cold numbers, on power and calculation. No empire would risk its fleets for a single lost soldier. To the Lemurians, his words sounded like madness, yet there was something unsettling in his tone. It was not a boast, it was truth. Days passed. The human slowly healed. Despite his weak body, his spirit refused to break. He asked questions about the galaxy, about the wars, about the empire that hunted both humans and Lemurians. The aliens noticed how carefully he listened, how he measured every word. One night, as the ship sailed quietly through space, the commander approached him. "You speak of your people as if they are gods," the commander said softly. The human shook his head. "No gods, just men and women, fragile like glass." "But glass can cut deep, if you try to break it." The alien frowned. "You believe they will come for you? Here, to the far edge of space?" The human gave a faint smile. "Not just for me. For anyone. You saved one of us, and now you are part of us." The commander froze. The words struck him like a blade. To be part of humanity, what did that mean? Was it a gift or a curse? Before he could respond, alarms screamed across the ship. Enemy vessels appeared on the scanner's dark. Predatory ships of the Varkan Empire, a ruthless species that thrived on conquest. Their leader's voice boomed across the comms. "Lemurian vessel, surrender the human to us. He belongs to us. Refuse, and you will be destroyed." The crew trembled. Their weapons were weak, their ship too small. The commander turned to the human. Why do they want you? The soldier's expression hardened. Not me, my people. They fear what comes when you stand against us. The alien commander tried to reason with the Varkans, but the enemy laughed and prepared to fire. The human, still weak, pulled himself to his feet. Listen to me, he said firmly. You must hold. Just hold. Do not surrender me. The commander hesitated. Why? We will all die. The human's eyes shone with something between fury and faith. Because they're coming. My people are already on the way. The Varkan fleet unleashed their weapons, but before the first strike landed, the stars shifted. Space rippled with sudden energy. Then, one by one, enormous shadows appeared, human warships, sleek and deadly, emerging from hyperspace. Dozens, hundreds. An entire fleet. The Varkans faltered. Their laughter died. The commander of the Lemurians stared in disbelief as the sky filled with human ships. They came. He whispered. The rescued soldier straightened, his voice steady now. I told you, we never leave anyone behind. The human fleet opened fire with terrifying precision. In minutes, the Varkan ships were scattered, broken, fleeing into the dark. Not one Lemurian ship was touched. The humans had come not just to save their soldier, but to protect those who had protected him. When the battle was over, silence filled the stars again. The human commander appeared on the screen, his voice calm but unyielding. You saved one of ours. For that, humanity saves you all. The Lemurians stood in awe. They had rescued a single fragile man, yet in return, an entire people had risen. From the stars, the rescued soldier placed a hand on the alien commander's shoulder. His words were quiet, but they carried the weight of 1,000 voices. This is who we are. This is why they fear us. Not because we conquer. Because we never abandon. The stars burned brighter that night, as if the galaxy itself had learned a new truth. The medical bay of the Lemurian ship was quiet, except for the soft hum of machines. The rescued human lay on a bed, his chest rising and falling with slow, steady breaths. Days had passed since the dramatic battle, but his body still carried deep wounds. His spirit, however, refused to break. The alien commander often came to check on him. He had seen many survivors before, from different worlds, but never one with eyes like this human, sharp, watchful, filled with something that was more than survival. One evening, as the stars drifted silently outside the viewing glass, the commander entered the chamber. You should rest, he said calmly. Your body is fragile. It needs time. The human turned his head, a faint smile on his lips. Fragile? Maybe, but strength is not always in the body. The alien studied him carefully. Where then? In the mind? The human's gaze hardened. In the will. The will to stand, no matter how many times you fall. The words echoed in the commander's mind. He had never heard anyone speak like this. For his people, survival was logic. If the chance was too small, retreat was the only answer. But this man seemed to believe in something beyond numbers. Later that night, 2 young Lemurian crew members whispered near the corridor. Why do we keep him here? One asked nervously. He brings danger. The Varkans want him. Maybe the commander should send him away before more enemies come. The human overheard them. His voice came from the shadows, low but clear. You think danger follows me. But danger was always here. You just did not see it until now. The crew froze. His words carried no anger, only truth. The young aliens avoided his eyes and walked away quickly, unsettled by the human's presence. The next day, the human was able to sit upright. The commander brought him food, a strange glowing fruit from their homeworld. He pushed it toward the human. Eat. You need strength. The man looked at it curiously. And what do you need, Commander? The alien raised an eyebrow. What do you mean? You saved me, the human said slowly. Not for profit. Not for power. Why risk your people? The commander hesitated. Because it was right. One life still matters. The human's lips curved into a knowing smile. Then you are more human than you think. The alien looked away, unsettled by the comment. That night, the ship entered a quiet sector of space. Or at least, it was meant to be quiet. Suddenly sensors lit up. Small enemy drones, like black insects, surrounded the vessel. They had no weapons strong enough to destroy, but they carried scanners and trackers. They are searching for him, the navigator said with fear. The Varkans will know his exact location. Panic spread among the crew. The commander clenched his jaw. Destroy the drones. But the drones were fast, darting through space like shadows. The Lumerian ship destroyed some, but more slipped away. The commander turned to the human. Your presence endangers us all. If they return with a fleet, they will return, the human interrupted calmly. That is what they do. The room fell silent. His voice carried no doubt, no hesitation. The commander's silver eyes narrowed. And yet you sit there, calm as if this is nothing. The human leaned forward, his voice low but unshakable. Because fear does not save you. Action does. And humanity always acts. The commander stared at him, torn between disbelief and respect. Hours later, the crew gathered in the control room. The enemy drones had escaped into hyperspace. The Lemurians knew what it meant soon. A war fleet would arrive. The young alien officer whispered, "We must leave him. If we throw him out, the Varkans will follow him and leave us alone." "No," the commander said firmly. "We saved him. That choice binds us. If we abandon him now, then what are we?" The human stepped forward, though his body still ached with pain. His voice was quiet but sharp like a blade. "He is right. Once you choose to save, you cannot choose to abandon. You cross a line that never fades." The crew looked at him with mixed emotions, fear, doubt, awe. Later, when the chamber was empty, the commander spoke alone with the human. "You are only one man. Why does your kind make such promises? Why do you fight with such certainty?" The human's eyes softened, though his voice stayed strong. "Because one man is never alone. Every human carries the weight of many. You save one, and the rest will come. That is our way." The commander shook his head slowly. "It sounds like madness." The human gave a faint grin. "Maybe, but it is madness that changes the stars." The next morning, the ship's long-range scanners screamed. A fleet was approaching vast, filled with Varkan warships. The crew panicked. The commander ordered shields raised, though they knew they would not last long. The human stood among them, his voice steady. "Do not fear, help is coming." The young officer snapped at him. "You said that before. Why should we believe you?" The human's reply was simple, "Because I am still alive." The crew stared at him, not understanding. But moments later, the space around them began to tremble. Bright pulses of light broke the darkness. Ships appeared sleek, fast, powerful. Human ships. The commander's eyes widened. "They came, again," the human nodded. "I told you. We never leave our own." The human fleet charged forward, engaging the Varkans before they could strike. The battle lit the stars like fire. The Lemurians watched in awe as the humans fought with terrifying precision, every move sharp, every strike purposeful. When it was over, silence returned. The Varkans were gone, scattered into the void. The human fleet surrounded the small Lumerian vessel, not as conquerors, but as guardians. On the bridge, the rescued man turned to the commander. "You saved me. Now my people save you. This is the balance of humanity." The commander looked at him, finally understanding the truth. It was not madness. It was something greater. And as the stars shone cold and bright, the Lemurians realized they were no longer alone in the galaxy. They had rescued one human, but what they had gained was far more powerful. The stars stretched endlessly, cold and silent, but the Lumerian crew could no longer see them the same way. After 2 human fleets had appeared in their defense, the galaxy itself felt different, more dangerous, but also filled with a strange hope. The rescued human walked the ship's halls now, his strength returning day by day. His scars remained, but he carried them like armor. The Lemurians followed him with cautious eyes. Some feared him, some admired him, and some whispered about what his presence might bring next. One night in the control room, the commander stood beside the human as reports streamed in from across the sector. Strange attacks were spreading. Villages burned, small colonies vanished without a trace. The signature was always the same, the Varkans. They are not only after us, the commander muttered, his silver eyes narrowing. They spread fear everywhere. Why? What are they searching for? The human studied the glowing map of attacks. His voice was low but certain. They are not searching, they are warning. They want the galaxy to see what happens when someone saves a human. The crew froze at his words. The idea struck deep, leaving the chamber silent. The young officer stepped forward, her voice sharp. You mean they destroy to send a message? The human looked at her calmly. Yes, they want you to regret saving me. The commander's jaw tightened. But we will not. The human's eyes softened. Then you must be ready. The Varkans believe fear breaks everyone. They have never faced people who rise stronger because of it. As days passed, the tension inside the ship grew heavy. Rumors spread across the galaxy. Alien governments debated whether helping humanity was worth the risk. Traitors whispered in fear, saying the humans had awakened something terrible. The Lemurians began to question their decision. Some crew members argued late into the night. He brings war with him, one shouted. Everywhere he goes, enemies follow. Another responded firmly, and yet he also brings protection. Without him, we would already be destroyed. The commander listened in silence, torn between both truths. One evening, he found the human alone in the observation deck, staring into the endless night. You hear them, don't you? The commander asked quietly. The human nodded. Fear is loud, it always is. The commander studied him carefully. Tell me something, if it had been reversed. If we found one of your kind and left him behind, would your people still come? The human turned, his gaze sharp. If you harmed him, then yes. We would come, not in mercy, but in wrath. But if you left him because you could not save him, then we would grieve, not hate. The alien commander blinked. The answer was simple, yet heavy with meaning. He realized then that humanity's strength was not only in their ships, but in the weight of their choices. The peace of the moment was broken when alarms shrieked. Sensors picked up a massive Varkan warship approaching fast. It was not a fleet only. One, but its size was monstrous, larger than anything the Lemurians had ever seen. The crew panicked. We cannot fight this, we must flee. But the human shook his head. If you run, they will follow. They do not want to kill you yet, they want to break you. To show the galaxy that saving a human is death. The commander looked at him. Then what do you suggest? The human's voice dropped to a whisper. We hold, we endure, and we wait. The warship appeared on the viewing screen, its black hull glowing with red scars of energy. A voice thundered through the comms cold and merciless. Lemurians, you harbor one of the cursed humans. Surrender him now. This is your only chance. The commander stood tall. We will not surrender. The voice laughed, harsh and cruel. Then we will tear your ship apart piece by piece, until your screams echo through the stars. The Varkan warship opened fire. Blazing energy slammed into the Lumerian shields. The ship groaned, lights flickering. Crew members screamed, rushing to control panels. The commander turned to the human, fury and fear mixing in his eyes. They will kill us all. But the human's voice was steady, calm as stone. No, not today. Why do you believe so strongly? The commander demanded. Because, the human said, his eyes locked on the stars, my people are already watching. At first, no one understood. But then, faint signals flickered on the sensors. Shadows stirred beyond the stars. Ships cloaked, hidden, waiting. The Lemurians gasped. The human smiled faintly. You thought I was alone. I was never alone. We do not wait for distress calls. We watch, we listen, and we move before it is too late. In the darkness, dozens of human warships decloaked, surrounding the monstrous Varkan vessel. The enemy froze, caught in a trap they never expected. The human spoke into the comms. His voice was quiet, but it carried power. You came to break us. Instead, you taught the galaxy what happens when you threaten one of ours. The human fleet opened fire with terrifying precision. Explosions tore across the Varkan warship's hull. The giant vessel shook, screaming in metal agony. Within minutes, it was nothing but fire and wreckage drifting in silence. The Lemurians stared in awe. Their fragile ship had survived, not because of strength, but because humanity had chosen to protect them. The commander turned slowly to the human. How do you do this? How do you bring entire fleets, entire armies, for one life? The human met his eyes, steady and unyielding. Because one life is never just one. It is a bond, a promise. Break that promise, and we are nothing. Keep it, and we are everything. The commander lowered his head in respect. He finally understood why the galaxy feared humanity. It was not their weapons. It was their unity. As silence returned, stars seemed to burn brighter. And somewhere deep inside, the Lemurians realized that by saving a single human, they had become part of something far greater than they had ever known. The Lemurian ship drifted in quiet space, its crew shaken by what they had just witnessed. A monstrous Varkan warship had been destroyed, not by their fragile defenses, but by the sudden arrival of hidden human fleets. The galaxy was beginning to see a truth it had long denied. Humanity was not weak, not scattered, not broken. Humanity was watching, but peace did not follow. The Lemurians could feel it in the silence that returned. Something darker was coming, something far larger than a single Varkan vessel. In the control room, the commander stood with his crew. The rescued human was there too, standing straighter now, his wounds healing faster than expected. His eyes never left the star map glowing on the screen. They will come again, the commander said grimly. Yes, the human replied. And they will not come alone. The young officer clenched her fists. Then what chance do we have? Even with your fleets, we are still weak. The human turned toward her, his voice steady. Weakness is not in your ships. It is in believing you stand alone. You are not alone anymore. The commander frowned. What are you saying? The human leaned closer to the map, his finger tracing the glowing roots of hyperspace. The Varkans are not preparing for another raid. They are preparing for war. And when they move, humanity will not wait for them to strike first. The room fell silent. The weight of his words sank deep. Humanity was not simply defending itself anymore. It was preparing to arrive. Later that night, the commander found the human standing at the observation deck again, staring into the abyss of stars. You speak as if you already know their plans, the commander said quietly. The human nodded. We study them. We listen to every signal, every whisper. The Varkans think themselves predators, but predators that grow arrogant often forget they are being watched. The commander narrowed his silver eyes. And what will happen when humanity arrives? The human's gaze stayed fixed on the stars. His voice dropped to a whisper. The galaxy will change forever. Days later, the Lemurian ship received a distress call from a nearby colony. The message was broken, filled with screams and static. The Varkans had attacked again, enslaving the weak, burning the rest. The crew hesitated. Their vessel was small, their weapons useless, To rush toward danger would be suicide. But before anyone could speak, the human gave a single command. "Set course for the colony." The commander turned sharply. "Are you mad? We cannot fight them." The human's voice was calm but unshakable. "You don't need to fight. You only need to arrive. My people will do the rest." The Lemurians exchanged doubtful looks, but in the end, the commander gave the order. The ship jumped into hyperspace. When they arrived, the sight before them was a nightmare. The colony's surface burned. Smoke rose in black clouds. Varkan ships circled above like vultures. The Lemurian crew froze in terror. One of them whispered, "We are too late." The human's voice cut through the fear. "No, watch the skies." At first, nothing happened. The colony burned. The enemy ships hovered, and despair spread through the control room. The young officer turned to the human, anger breaking her voice. "You promised they would come. Where are they?" The human only stared upward, his eyes locked on the void above the burning world. Then, slowly, the stars began to shift. One by one, vast shapes emerged from hyperspace. Sleek warships, carriers, gunships, human fleets poured into the system like a rising tide. Their engines burned with white fire, their hulls marked with the scars of countless battles. The commander's mouth fell open. "By the stars!" The young officer staggered back, her eyes wide with disbelief. "So many." The human's lips curved into a grim smile. "You rescued one of us. Now humanity has come for all of you." The human fleet moved with terrifying precision. They did not fire blindly. Every shot struck true, ripping apart Varkan vessels one by one. The sky burned with explosions, the soundless fire of war echoing across space. The Lemurian crew watched in stunned silence. The galaxy had spoken of humans as fragile, short-lived, reckless. But what they saw now was something entirely different, a force that fought not for conquest, but for protection. The battle raged fiercely. Varkan reinforcements arrived, but even as their numbers grew, they could not match the fury of humanity's wrath. Human ships shielded the burning colony, intercepting enemy fire, driving the invaders back. At last, the Varkan fleet broke. The survivors fled into the dark, leaving wreckage behind. The colony was scarred, but not destroyed. Its people lived because humanity had arrived in time. When the smoke cleared, silence returned to space. The Lemurian crew turned to the human, their faces pale, their eyes wide. "You knew," the commander whispered. "You knew they would come." The human nodded slowly. "Because we always come. One or many, it makes no difference. We do not abandon." The young officer shook her head in disbelief. "But why? Why risk so much for so little? Why send fleets? For one man, one colony?" The human's eyes burned with quiet fire. "Because one life is never small. One life carries the weight of all. That is humanity's truth. That is why the galaxy fears us." The commander lowered his head, humbled. He had led his people through centuries of cautious survival, always avoiding greater powers, always fleeing stronger enemies. But now he saw a new path, a path taught by a fragile human who refused to be abandoned. The human stepped closer to the viewport, his eyes fixed on the stars. His voice was quiet, but it carried through the chamber like thunder. "This is only the beginning. Today they saw us arrive. Tomorrow they will see why we never stop." The crew stood in silence, their hearts pounding. The stars outside looked different now, brighter, sharper, alive with the promise of something greater. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had arrived. The battlefield above the colony still smoked, broken ships drifting like the bones of giants. The Lemurians stared out at the wreckage in stunned silence. They had seen something no words could fully capture, the fury of humanity unleashed. But the war was not finished. On the far side of the system, new signals appeared. Another Varkan fleet, larger than the last, approaching with cold precision. Their commanders were not retreating. They wanted revenge. The Lumerian crew panicked. There are too many this time. One shouted, "Not even the humans can hold them back." The commander looked at the rescued human, who stood at the center of the bridge. His face was calm, his eyes steady. "They will come again," the commander said. "Do you believe your people can win twice?" The human's voice was quiet, but strong. "This is not about winning twice. This is about showing them what cannot be broken." The words silenced the crew. There was no arrogance in his tone, only certainty. Minutes later, the enemy arrived. Massive warships darkened the stars, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. The Varkan sent a message across all channels. "Humans, you fight like fire, but fire burns out. Surrender your fleets, surrender your allies, or we will erase this world and everything upon it." The human commander's face appeared on the screen of every ship. His voice was calm, almost gentle. "You misunderstand. We did not come here to burn. We came to protect." The Varkans laughed, their voices cruel. Then, without warning, they opened fire. The sky exploded. Energy blasts ripped across space, slamming into human shields. For a moment, the stars themselves seemed to shake. But the human fleets did not break. They moved with frightening precision, like a single living organism, every ship covering another, every strike exact. The Lemurians watched in awe. The humans were not just fighting. They were defending. Each ship positioned itself to protect the colony below, intercepting fire even at the cost of damage. It was wrath, but it was also mercy. "Why?" The young officer whispered. "Why shield us so carefully? Why not fight only for themselves?" The rescued human's reply was steady. "Because you chose to save one of us. That makes you worth saving. That makes you part of us now." The Varkans pressed harder. Their ships swarmed in waves, their weapons burning with fury. Human vessels exploded under the pressure, but even as they fell, the rest closed ranks, holding the line. Then, something unexpected happened. The human fleet shifted tactics. Instead of striking the largest enemy ships, they targeted supply craft, communication relays, and fuel carriers. The Varkan formation began to collapse. The commander's eyes widened. "They are not destroying everything. They are dismantling them." The human nodded. "Wrath is not rage. Wrath is control. We strike only where it matters." Within an hour, the massive fleet that had promised destruction was in chaos. Some ships fled. Others shut down entirely, powerless without their supply lines. The survivors were not hunted down. They were allowed to escape. The Lemurians could not believe what they saw. The humans had the power to annihilate the enemy completely, but they stopped short. Why let them live? The young officer asked bitterly. "They will return to kill again." The human's voice was low. "Mercy is not weakness. Mercy is the weapon they do not understand. We show them we can destroy them, but we choose not to." That fear runs deeper than death. The battlefield slowly cleared. Human ships drifted into formation, surrounding the Lumerian vessel. A message came through from the human commander. To the people of the colony, to the Lemurians who risked everything for one man, we say this: humanity does not abandon. You stood for us, so we stand for you. From this day, you are not alone. The colony cheered. The Lemurians stood in stunned silence, some trembling, some weeping. The alien commander turned to the rescued human beside him. His silver eyes shone with something rare respect. "Your people fight with fire, but they end with mercy. That balance, I have never seen it before." The human nodded slowly. "It is why we endure. Wrath makes enemies fear us. Mercy makes allies trust us. Together, they make us stronger than war itself." The young officer stepped forward, her voice trembling. "And if one day we cannot repay what you have done, what then?" The human's answer was simple. Then you do as we did. You save the one in front of you. That is enough. The stars outside burned with new light, the wreckage of war glowing faintly in the distance. For the first time in their long history, the Lemurians felt something they had never known before, not just survival, but belonging. They had seen the wrath of humanity. They had felt its mercy. And they knew the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy had grown quiet after the battle, but quiet did not mean peace. The wreckage of war still drifted among the stars, a reminder that the Varkans would never forget their humiliation. Rumors spread across systems humanity had shown. Wrath and mercy in the same breath. Some feared them. Others whispered about them with hope. On the Lemurian colony, the survivors worked night and day to rebuild. Ships arrived carrying food, medicine, and strange technology the Lemurians had never seen. Human engineers walked beside them, teaching, repairing, and protecting. Yet with every gift came a question that hung in the air like a shadow. What price will this kindness demand? The alien commander found himself restless. One night, standing on the balcony of the half-destroyed council hall, he looked up at the stars. The rescued human walked beside him, silent, his face lit by the pale glow of twin moons. "Why do your people help us so freely?" the commander asked finally. "In war, nothing is free. Yet you fight for us, feed us, rebuild our homes. Are we a weapon for you now, or a shield?" The human did not answer at once. His voice, when it came, was steady. "We are building something larger than weapons or shields. We are building trust," the commander frowned. "Trust does not win wars." The human's gaze turned sharp. "No, but it ends them." Before more could be said, alarms rang out across the colony. The night sky lit up with streaks of fire as small Varkan raider ships broke through the defense perimeter. Sirens wailed. Civilians screamed and scattered. The commander cursed. "They return already? After such a defeat?" The human grabbed his arm. "Not a full fleet. This is not war, it is a test. They want to see if fear still holds you." Explosions shook the ground as the raiders struck. Human defense squads rushed out, armored and disciplined, but the attackers were fast and vicious. A communication officer ran up to the balcony. "Commander, they target the food reserves. If they burn it, the colony will starve before the next supply arrives." The commander's instincts screamed for retreat. But then he saw the human already moving, shouting to soldiers below. "Hold the reserves. Protect the people. Push them back, no matter the cost." The commander stared. The human was not a leader of this colony, yet he commanded with such certainty that even his own troops obeyed. He found himself shouting too, his voice carrying across the courtyard. "Lemurians, to me, we will not run. Tonight we stand." For the first time, human and Lemurian soldiers fought side by side. The raiders struck with fury, but the defenders met them with a shield wall of steel and courage. Amid the chaos, one Varkan ship crashed near the square. Its doors burst open, and heavily armed warriors stormed out. The largest among them raised his blade, roaring, "The mercy of humans is weakness. Tonight you all die." The crowd trembled. But the human stepped forward, his voice calm. "Weakness? No, mercy is the strength you cannot understand." The Varkan leader sneered. "Then show me your strength." The human did not raise a weapon. He simply looked to the commander and said, "Together." And for the first time, the commander understood. Wrath and mercy were not opposites. They were one. Wrath gave the courage to fight. Mercy gave the reason to protect. Without both, survival was empty. He lifted his blade, standing shoulder to shoulder with the human. Together, the duel was brutal. Sparks flew, blades clashed, and the square shook with each strike. The human moved with speed, the commander with precision. The Varkan roared and swung with raw power, but he was outmatched not by one fighter, but by two who trusted each other completely. At last, The Varkan fell, his weapon clattering to the ground. The remaining raiders saw their leader broken and fled into the sky. The colony erupted with cheers. The commander stood panting, his chest burning, but his heart was steady. He turned to the human. "I see it now. Wrath alone destroys. Mercy alone is fragile. But together, they build something that cannot be broken." The human gave a faint smile. "Now you understand humanity's legacy." The next morning, the colony gathered in the rebuilt square. Humans and Lemurians stood side by side. The human commander spoke, his voice carrying to all. "You feared us when we first arrived. You wondered if our wrath would consume you, or if our mercy was a trap. But now you have seen for yourself. Humanity does not conquer. Humanity protects. That is our promise. That is our legacy." Silence followed, then thunderous applause, not of fear but of respect. For the first time in history, two species stood. Not as strangers, not as allies of convenience, but as something greater. That night, when the stars glittered over the colony, the young Lemurian officer whispered to the commander, "Do you think they will return?" He looked at her, then at the human standing quietly nearby. His answer was firm. "Yes, the Varkans will come again. But when they do, they will not face one world alone. They will face us all, human and Lemurian, together." The humans' eyes reflected the starlight. That is how wars end. Not with fire, not with blood, but with unity. And as the galaxy watched, a new chapter began. The story of a people who once mocked, doubted, and feared humans, only to discover that the true power of humanity was not in destruction, but in the choice to protect even when destruction was possible. The wrath of humanity had been terrifying. The mercy of humanity had been humbling. But together, they were unforgettable. The stars above seemed brighter that night, as if the universe itself had paused to listen to a promise that would echo for centuries. Humanity had come not only to fight but to change the galaxy forever.